You. So we're doing a Mamar in Sefer HaMaimorim Tavshin Daled. This is the Maimorim of the Frierdiker Rebbe, and Tavshin Daled is 1944. In that Sefer, it's page 97. In the book that we have here in school, this is the second page, page 2. We just did 2 lines yesterday, so we'll start again from the beginning of Vihine. So the Maimer is on the pasuk where Yaakov Avinu tells his son Yosef, I'm giving you another portion, Shechem Echad, which, by the way, the word Shechem also is the name of the portion, the city of Shechem in Eretz Yisrael, that's connected to Yosef. And Yaakov said, this is the land that I took away from the nations that lived here, but specifically, which one? Amori. And I took it with my sword and my bow. But the Mefarshim, which is Rashi, Onkelos, and others, say, I guess the reason is because we don't find that Yaakov waged war in Eretz Yisrael with the people of Amori. So what does it mean I took it with my sword and my bow? And the answer is, it means with my request, with my davening, and with my learning. The merit of my davening and my learning, I was able to conquer that part of the land of Eretz Yisrael. So being that he uses 2 terms, 2 weapons, of course it's in a figurative way. A bow and arrow is one, a sword is the other. So spiritually, there must be a difference between how we can defeat the enemy with a bow and arrow and how with a sword. And there's different parts of the davening. I will soon explain that Shemona Esrei is the bow and arrow, and Shema is the sword. So first we do Shema, and then we do Shemona Esrei. So let's start again. V'hinei, ubekashti, with my bow. V'hinei avoda the Shemona Esrei, shebo achri avoda the Krishma. The bow is referring to Shemona Esrei. And I mentioned yesterday that actually the word bekashti, which means my bow, can also be read as bakashasi, my requests. And that's what Shemona Esrei is. That's a part of davening where we ask Hashem to fulfill our needs. We ask for wisdom, we ask for parnasa, and we ask for healing, and so on. In general, avodah has to be in a structured way, in an orderly way. We explained yesterday, avodah means not just anything I do. Avodah specifically means the process of self-refinement, learning, davening, doing mitzvahs, working on my character traits, working on my nefesh elokis, becoming more revealed, more in tune, being able to overcome all the issues that come from my nefesh habahamis. That's self-refinement. In order for it to be successful, there has to be an order. First you do, it's like in a war, there's a strategy. First you do this, then you do that. And after you do that, then you can go to the next thing. So too spiritually. So the avodah has to be with an order, which means hein beguv be'etzem avodah, the protein yaneh. First of all, the details of whatever avodah it is has to be in a way that it's following a certain sequence, a certain order, in order for it to be properly. The sidri avodas, also different avodas, working on this or working on something else. Which one comes first? There should be an order what I do first. And after I do this, then I can go to the next thing, and then I can go to the next thing, and so on. So therefore, in davening, we find this as well. First, there has to be the avodah of Krishma. This is a sword with 2 sides. Both sides are sharp. And this Lashon Cheresh Pius is in davening. Again, we have in the back of the booklet the different psukim, the different sources, so we can see what it is. So if you look here in the booklet on page 34, you'll see where you have it in davening. I exalt Hashem, or the exaltation of Hashem is in their throats, meaning they daven, they praise Hashem, and then it says, and a double-edged sword in their hand. So generally speaking, as we'll explain in the Mamar, the sword means something to which I eliminate klipa. There are forces of klipa that are trying to bring me down, and the sword is something to get rid of the klipa, to eliminate the klipa. Just like Begashman, there's an enemy that's trying to hurt me, so I need a weapon that to eliminate the enemy. And being that there are, generally speaking, two types, or the klipas can come from two different directions, so the sword also has two sides, two edges, to able to reach the klipa from this side, and able to reach the klipa from the other side. Right now, we're not going into that detail. That was explained in the Mamar that preceded this Mamar. But we're just focusing on the fact that it's a sword. And how it is done, this button is the Bayechod, this button is the Baruch Shem Kavod Malchus 11 word. When a person says the two psukim, Shema Yisrael and Baruch Shem, and the person's mizbeinin, he meditates on the meaning of the word. What does it mean Hashem is one? And what does it mean when we say Baruch Shem Kavod Malchus 11 word, which also means Hashem is one? The only thing is that when you say Shema Yisrael, that's understanding Hashem is one on a higher level. When you say Baruch Shem Kavod Malchus Elam V'ed, we're understanding Hashem is one on a lower level. I'll just explain this briefly. In Tanya, as you know, there are 5 volumes. So the second volume of Tanya is called Shar HaYichud V'Amunah, the gateway to oneness and belief and faith. In other words, this concept that we always talk about in Chassidus, that Hashem and the world is one, that's the place in Tanya specifically that explains this and elaborates on this. It's volume 2, has 12 chapters. But before it begins, there are 2 small lines that are introduction, and it says the purpose of this part of Tanya is to explain how Hashem is one on a higher level, and Hashem is one on a lower level. Shema Yisrael explains how he is one on a higher level. Baruch Shem explains how he's one on a lower level. So in the first pasuk, it's clear. Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad, Hashem is one. The second pasuk means Baruch Shem Kavod Malchus, the name of Hashem's as a king should be glorified forever. Where do we see that there's any discussion about Hashem being one? So I have to show this to you on the board. So it says in Zohar that the word Va'ed, the last word of Baruch Shem, which is Vav, and Ayin Dalet, Va'ed. This word is the same as this word, Echad. Anyone familiar with this? How they're the same? They don't look the same. It's not the same numerical value. But in the world of gematria, which means words being exchanged one for the other, there are many different ways, not only by numbers. So this is the way it's explained. First of all, a dollar. Both have a dollar. Okay, that was easy. There is a difference. Excuse me. Thank you. Yes. Too much fun. You're all excited. Okay. Thank you. There is a difference. This is a big dollar and then the regular dollar. They're both dollars. How does the S and Aleph exchange the above of the ayin? So one of the systems in terms of gematria or changing of letters is that any group of letters that belong to one group exchange with each other. There's a group of letters which is called Ahavi Aleph, A, Vav, Yud. What do these letters have in common? They're all letters that could be silent letters in a word. There are words that have an aleph in it, but you don't pronounce the aleph. There are words that have a hey in it, you don't pronounce the hey. The words that have a vav in it, you don't pronounce the vav, and the same with the yud. They belong to one group. Believing that they belong to one group, they exchange with each other. So in the Torah, if it says something with an aleph, there's certain hidden code could also be that it's alluding to a vav. So the vav and the aleph exchange. Okay, we got one more left. The ayin and the ches. How do they exchange? They also belong to one group. What's the group? So one of the things that talks about in Zohar and Chassidus is that something which is called Hey Meitzoros Haper, the 5 parts of the mouth through which we speak. That when a person speaks, there's a voice, and then this voice could be just the basics, and then from this voice could be all the letters of the alphabet. That's what speech is all about. Generally speaking, if I use my teeth, that's where the letters come that go through the teeth, like tzaddik, zayin, samach, that we say with the teeth. Then there are letters that we use our tongue, like lamed, nun, etc. Then there are letters that we use our throat. One of those is ches. Then there are letters that we use the palate. Hey. So we do everything. Then there's letters we use the lips, like beis, mem, vav, and so on. So again, these are 5 groups, 5 ways of articulating words, and all the letters that belong to one group also exchange with each other. The ayin and the ches both belong to the throat. Of course, you'll be asking me, how does an ayin connect to the throat? And the answer is because the true way of pronouncing the ayin is the way Sephardi Jews announce it, which it comes from the throat. We say an ayin like an aleph, but the real way of pronouncing the ayin is really from the throat. So therefore, ayin and a ches exchange, which means when it says va'ed, in the hidden code, it really says echad. So what's the difference? Here, echad is written explicitly and openly. Here, echad is hidden. So that's why Shema Yisrael is a higher level of unity, and Baruch Shem is expressing a lower level of how the world and Hashem is one. And that's what the whole Shar Yichud is all about. Yichud Ilah, which means a higher level of understanding Hashem being one with the world, and Yichud Tzatov. So when a person meditates on that, when he says Shema Yisrael, he meditates on the idea how Hashem is one on the higher level. When he says Baruch Shem Kvod Malchus Le'olam, he meditates how Hashem is one on the lower level. That is the avodah of cherub, of a sword. Avodah the Shemona Esrei, Shibakashti, the avodah Shemona Esrei, that's more compared to a bow and arrow. Now he's going to elaborate and explain what the difference is. Hine roi brachas Shemona Esrei, most of the brachas in Shemona Esrei, him bakoshes. They are requests. We mentioned recently that the Shemona Esrei is divided into 3 parts. The first part is me praising Hashem and recognizing who Hashem is. And Hashem is awesome and mighty, etc. The last part is thanking Hashem for everything that He gave me. And the middle part, that's where the requests are. So there are 18 brachas altogether, but the middle part has 12. So most of the Shemona Esrei is requests. For example, the first request is we're asking Hashem to give us das, understanding. As is a tshuva, Hashem should assist us that we should do tshuva. Slicha, we're asking Hashem to forgive us. Geula, we're asking Hashem to redeem us if we're in a situation that we need geula. Refuah, we're asking Hashem for healing. Shen Yud Beis brachas Amtsoya, these are the 12 middle brachas, the middle part of Shemona Esrei. Shadam Shel Tzracha Bahem. That's the place where a person asks for his needs. The idea of asking for something, that I need something, only makes sense if I'm lacking. If I'm lacking health, then I ask Hashem for healing. If I'm lacking in parnasa, I'm asking Hashem to give me parnasa. So if I'm lacking, I'm asking for something. When a person knows, not just knows, but also feels that they're lacking whatever it may be, then it makes sense, because he's lacking. He's asking Hashem to fill that lack, fill that void, whatever is missing. What about a person who doesn't feel, doesn't know, not even aware that he's missing something? He can't, doesn't make sense to say that he's asking for something when he's not even aware that he's missing this. So Shemona Esrei means to be aware that I'm lacking, to be aware that I'm deficient in a certain area, and I'm asking Hashem to help me. These requests that we ask for in Shemona Esrei, we're not only asking for the needs of the physical body and the physical needs. What I'm lacking physically, we're asking for both. That Hashem should fulfill my needs, which are Gashmizik needs, and He also should fulfill my needs, which are Ruchnizik needs. And not only I'm asking for both, but be'emes, the real truth is, Ikra Bakosha, the main request, and the thing that's mainly on my mind, for that which is lacking beruchnis. But this is not only because ruchnis is more important than gashmis, but it gives a different reason, a deeper reason. I know, what does it mean beruchnis? Even though there are many different things beruchnis, but in general it means what's lacking in ruchnis for myself personally, what's lacking beruchnis in the world, is that godliness is not revealed, that godliness is hidden. And I'm asking Hashem that it should be more revealed. I should feel Him more in me, within myself, and it should be more revealed in the world. Things in the world that happen shouldn't be things that conceal godliness, and my personal life, also the same thing. What? Spiritual things. And the reason is, this explains the order of the brachas. The tchilas hakol, the first bracha, is bakoshes chaninas hadas. I'm asking Hashem for das. As we learned before, das means, first of all, understanding. And not only understand, but it should be reality to me. I should really feel what I understand. I'm asking Hashem, He should give me the understanding, to know the truth. What's really lacking is really what's lacking spiritually. The fact that there's godliness lacking in this world, godliness is concealed. That's the reason why there's gashmizik things concealed. We learned in the previous Mamar, what's the definition of an asayin? Remember, it said a person lacking in health, a person lacking financially, a person lacking in parnasa, other things that are happening that give the person agmas nefesh, the person suffering in one way or another, something painful is going on. That means that godliness is concealed, because godliness is goodness, And if godliness is revealed, then goodness is revealed. And if something is not good to our eyes and the way we feel it, that means godliness is hidden. So when a person, I'm going to ask Hashem for my requests. And I know that it's an amazing opportunity Hashem gave me. I could walk into the palace, go into the king's chamber, and ask him for everything that I want. And imagine you have that opportunity, the king says, come in and tell me what you need. And you say something which is silly, which is unimportant, it's a wasted opportunity. So my first bracha is Hashem, give me understanding that I should know what to ask for. Someone told me that he went to a doctor and he asked his friend, so when I go to the doctor, what should I be asking? So he tells him this. Then he says, you know what? Ask the doctor what you should really be asking him. Because he knows what you should really be asking. So he's saying to Hashem, give me a bracha that when I ask for things, I should know what I'm asking for, and I should understand what's important and what's not important. So what is important? What's important is to ask for a bracha for the cause for things, not the symptoms. If a person has a certain condition, and as a result of that, there's certain symptoms, I don't ask for a bracha that the symptoms should be gone. I need a bracha that the cause should be gone. So being that the fact that I'm lacking begashmi is, that's a symptom. The fact that I'm lacking beruchni is, that's the cause. So I'm asking Hashem to give me das, Leida lahakir, to recognize that the main thing that's deficient here is chesron ruchni, what I'm lacking, or the world is lacking, what I'm lacking spiritually, and this causes the lack physically. The imhayamer gil elukus, if godliness would be revealed, and things would also be good in a physical way. For example, in the times of the Beis Hamikdash. When the Beis Hamikdash was standing, godliness was more revealed in the world. So not only they had godliness in the world, which means that they felt Hashem's presence, their davening, their learning, their mitzvahs, their good deeds, they felt love for Hashem, awe for Hashem. But in addition to all that, like it says in reference to Shlomo Melech, everybody had their vineyard, they had their date tree, they had all the conveniences and all the things that they need to be happy begashmius. When the Beis Hamikdash was destroyed, we were lacking ruchnius, and that's when the Gola started. So the fact that we're suffering physically is because we're lacking and deficient spiritually. And that's the meaning of our davening Shmoneh. When we say the different brachas, we say Baruch Ato Hashem. We know the famous question, what does it mean we're blessing Hashem? We bless him, he's the source of all blessings. So how does it make sense to say that we're blessing him? So the simple interpretation means that I'm blessing Hashem means I'm thanking Hashem. I'm expressing my gratitude to Hashem for giving me this blessing or that blessing. Chassidus explains that the word Baruch comes from the word brecha, which means to draw something down. Like, for example, when there's water flowing down from the mountains and creates a creek or something, that's called something which flows down. So we're asking, when I'm saying the words of the bracha, I'm asking that Hashem's sustenance, Hashem's light, Hashem's energy and light should flow down to this world, and it should flow down and manifest in health, manifest in parnasa, manifest in all those things that I'm asking for. But of course, we're not just Chas v'Shalom telling Hashem what to do. It means when we verbalize these words and we say Baruch Ato Hashem, we're actually drawing down that light. Think of it as you walk over to a building and you need to go to the 15th floor, and it's a very big walk. Baruch Hashem, we have things called elevators. I press a button, and something which is on the 15th floor comes down right in front of me, opens up the door, says, come in. How did I get it? I pressed the button, it came down. The button to bring down Hashem's sustenance in this world is Baruch Atah. And each Baruch Atah brings down something else. So we're saying Baruch Atah Havaya, Shetia Habracha V'Hamshocha V'Mata, that the B'chinas Gili, that Hashem's light should be revealed in this world. And now he elaborates on that. When he thinks about the greatness of Hashem and godliness, and how exalted godliness is, how far removed we are from He's so much greater than anything that we could relate to. Shein aroich elav klal, immeasurably greater. The more I think about the greatness of Hashem, the more I realize how far I am from Hashem. So he feels in his heart this feeling of, he feels bitter, the fact that I'm so far from Hashem. So he asks Hashem from the depth of his heart, that godliness should be revealed to him down here. In other words, that when he's asking for godliness, because he realizes that even though I'm davening, I'm learning, I'm doing mitzvahs, but I really am not feeling Hashem's presence. So I'm asking Hashem that it should come into the world and to me personally in a more revealed way, that I should be able to feel His presence. And of course, the more I understand the greatness of Hashem, the more I realize how much I'm lacking and how much I'm missing, and how I need to daven to ask Hashem for that. Why is this compared to a weapon? Through these requests, this becomes like a bow and arrow, like a weapon, and it kills the klippos. So what is the difference between a sword and a bow? He's going to explain that now. The hefresh. So the word chitzonim is in your list over here. Remember we said we're going to do that. Okay, let me keep my word. Open the workbook. I'm sorry to make you work so hard, but it's a workbook. So open the workbook. Number one is ma'umka deliba. It's Aramaic, but it's very similar to Hebrew. It means from the depth of the heart. The second word, number two, is chitzonim, is another word for klipa. Because chitzonim means the external ones. And we know klipa comes from Hashem, but from an external place within the spiritual realm. So they're called chitzonim. So the difference between a sword and a bow is with a sword, you can kill the enemy that's right next to you. But an enemy that's far from you, the sword won't help you. But the enemy that stands far away, I can't kill that enemy with a sword. What do I need in order to reach the enemy that's far from me? They had keshes through a bow and arrow. The enemy that's far. Today, most countries that go to war don't go to war with bow and arrows. But I guess missiles are the same thing as bow and arrows, or a gun is the same thing as a bow and arrows. It's a weapon where I can reach the enemy that's far. But a cherev is in my hand, and it's something I can only reach an enemy that's close. What does this mean spiritually? One more point that Hakeshes, I think another thing about the bow and arrow, the more you pull back the string of the bow, so first of all, the bow and arrow helps me reach an enemy that's far. And the more I pull back the string, the further the arrow can go. Right? Okay. A class in archery over here. That's what is the mushal here? Baruch is. Same thing as the davening. Shabakoshes nasis l'pinis keshes laharag is dakus or rashabud. So there are two terms here. One is underlined right here, dakus or ra, And the other one is on the next page, but it's also underlined, I think, Gasus Hara. But nevertheless, in the page 19 that has the list of the terms, it's number 2 and number 3. Number 3 and number 4. What is the difference? Dakus Hara means something which is more subtle. It's negative, but it's subtle. And Gasus Hara means something which is coarse. Something which is coarse and more pronounced negativity. For example, if a person doesn't give any tzedakah, we know that that's wrong. It's a negative thing. What if a person gives tzedakah, but not according to their means? If someone like a billionaire would give $1,000 tzedakah every year, and you're giving tzedakah, but you can't say it's like the one who's not giving. And by the way, there are many levels of this. Could be someone who's giving not 1,000, giving 1,000,000. He can be giving 10 million. And still, according to his means, $10 million for him is less than me giving $100 to tzedakah because he has billions. So the difference is one is called gasus hara, one is coarse, it's actual something negative, and the other one is something which is more refined. It's more subtle. It's on a smaller, subtle level, also something which is negative. I mean, there are other things which are similar, even though in a different way. But for example, it says that if you embarrass someone, you insult someone in public, it's like murder. But you still can't compare embarrassing someone to physically, God forbid, murdering them. But in a sort of in a smaller scale, embarrassing someone in public, the reason why the Gemara says, because when a person is embarrassed, the color is drained from their face. The blood is drained. So that's similar to, God forbid, killing someone where their blood is being drained. But of course, you can't compare. Or there's difference between hitting somebody, being violent physically, or hurting somebody with words. It's also negative, but it's in a more subtle way than taking a stick, chas v'shalom, and beating someone. So with all the inyanim of Torah mitzvahs and all the inyanim that we have to work on ourselves, there could be a person that doesn't daven, or a person that davens, but they just say the words and they're not thinking of what the words mean. They're just coming out of their mouth. Or you can say there's a person that davens and thinks about the words, but they're not thinking, they're not really putting depth into it. Remember we learned in the previous mind where it said, go into the words. So there could be a person davening, thinking, but they're not really sort of alive in it. You know, there's a story with a chassid that came to the Alter Rebbe, and he said, I think I told you the story, but I haven't heard it tell again in this context. He told the Alter Rebbe, well, chassid came to the Rebbe, was always the Rebbe should help him work things out spiritually, give him a way to correct spiritual things. And he told the Alter Rebbe that I feel that I'm not being truthful. I do things, but not the emes, not with, it's really not coming from a true place. And then he said to the Alter Rebbe, in fact, the fact that I'm coming to the Rebbe now, and I'm asking the Rebbe to guide me, and I'm saying that I feel I'm not being truthful, even that request is not really truthful. Which means I have a little bit of an agenda. I don't really mean it truthfully and deeply. And then he said to Alter Rebbe, even the fact that I'm telling you that my request for a request is not truthful, even that's not truthful. And he went on and on until he fainted. The Friedrich Rebbe said, and that was truthful. He fainted in the Alter Rebbe's room. Apparently in those days it wasn't so uncommon for people to faint in the Alter Rebbe's room. These were people that had hearts, they had feelings, you know, and he really felt what he said. So imagine a person feels he's davening, he's learning, and he really wants it, but he feels it's not the deepest truth. That's not gasus hara. That's not coarse negativity. That's subtle, and it could be true that he's lacking in terms of the depth of his emes, but it's a more subtle, something more that's called dakus hara. So there are various levels of this, levels of depth, and that's the difference. The sword means you're getting the enemy that's right in front of you. It means there's certain things that are negative that it's right in front of you. which means it's in your face. It's black and white. It's something physical. A person's not giving tzedakah. A person's not davening. A person's not putting on tefillin. A person's eating chametz chas v'shalom on Pesach. What if a person eats matzah, but they still have arrogance in them? Okay, but they're eating matzah. So even though the whole idea of chametz is not to be arrogant, to have bittul, but that's chametz in a spiritual sense, not chametz physically. What about a person who has bittul, but not a lot of bittul, just a little bittul? I don't know how to measure it, like 3 ounces of bittul. So that's even more subtle, and there are levels in this Indian. In fact, everything in Avodah, anything we talk about in serving Hashem, you have these 2 levels. In fact, probably not 2 levels, but maybe infinite levels. But the difference is one of them is gasus, is very clear and open and black and white. And it's right in front of me. And that's what we say that we can reach with a sword. Then the things which are far from me is harder to reach because it's harder to recognize. We had a mimer, we learned this mimer last year, where he gives an example. Like, for example, a person who doesn't associate, no, he's always associating himself with simple people. In fact, more with simple people than with scholars and people that are people of quality. He's always with the simple people. And he says to himself, that's a sign that I'm really a humble person. Because arrogant people won't associate with these simple people that I associate with. So I'm humble, and that's why I'm always associating myself with simple people, nobody special, and I'm the one who spends time with them. So he says in the Maimon, it might be just the opposite. That actually you're so arrogant that the only people you want to associate with people that are simple, so you could feel more important. Because when you're amongst people that have quality, you don't feel so important anymore. So here's something where I have to search and to know what am I really feeling? Is this really negative? Maybe it's positive. It's harder to recognize. That's what it means that the enemy is further away. And for that, we need the keshes. We need a bow and arrow. Question is, where do you buy it? Which store can you get it? And then we have to learn archery, how you use it. So let's just finish these lines here. One that's close is called gasusara. Gas means coarse. You know, the vacuum cleaner, they tell you this is the coarse dirt, and this is, I don't know what the other word would be. Fine dirt, but it's coarse, and this is, and of course, there's a piece of something there, and fine is more dust or things like that, you know. So we need a gamas harasha bedakas ma'od, things that are very subtle. Shenim margish eseklau, even in physical health, there are things that are very pronounced. Person has something hurts, and there, God forbid, things that it might be very dangerous, but you don't even feel it. You're not even aware of it. If not for the fact that you go and do some sort of an X-ray or some other test, you wouldn't even know that the thing is there, even though it's there, but it's not so pronounced. So just like that, and in some ways, these things are even more dangerous because it's not so pronounced. You're not aware of it, and you're not aware to protect yourself from it. And the same thing could be spiritually also. That there's certain things that are so clear, I know it's a problem, even though I didn't sort of, I'm not on top of it, but at least I know I have to be on top of it. There might be other things, like the example I just gave, where the person doesn't even realize it's a problem. In fact, he thinks the fact that I'm always associating with only simple people is actually because I'm so humble. And really it's because I'm so arrogant. By the way, it doesn't mean it has to be that reason, but it could be that reason. So there are things in our lives spiritually that are negative, and we're not even aware of it. That's called dakusara.
So during this one esrei, you like read those things that are not obvious.
Right, Shmon Esrei. Well, we'll have to get to that. So what are we doing? Are we supposed to be thinking about all the things that are wrong in the middle of Shmon Esrei? That's another question. We'll get there. In the meantime, today, Dama Shmon Esrei regular. Yeah, we might start Shmon Esrei and forget to finish. We'll start looking at all those hidden things.
Yeah.
To be continued.
Sorry. Yeah, if we do the morning time, break, we should be free to somewhere or the group can come. I don't think they can come here because everyone gets in boys. I'm definitely. Boys and girls. So.
Yeah. But it would be me going somewhere, I have to be close. Right now, then we have to work.
Yeah, so I'm definitely. What time, yeah, for the so for next the morning. Yeah.
Let me know.
Yeah. It's like. Yeah. See, I feel, he says, thank you, Steve. I like this part, yes. Looks like she's moved on the shop. Eso pensaba en no, no se le dice nada. Vos casada y casada y eso me dio que también no lo respondo. No digo las cosas. Es que me lo fui y no lo respondo. Ahí te vas a ir con los niños y están sí, te estudiaron. Y vos, I love your reading. They can't see how to say that. What? Easy. I love your reading. I don't remember. No. Yeah, there's a new one, but no, it's just,